bit because he is one that does pass the ball about.
Well, we can see now that they're the life. You were impressed with the pitch, Sammy, when we saw it just before we came on the air.
Yeah, but we had that close-up of York. The pitch looked very loose and good for passing the ball, which United obviously like. So they can't really blame the pitch tonight.
How do you feel that they look, George? Final comment before we go over to Zagreb?
Well, I watched them against Spurs, and again, somebody just mentioned the pitch didn't suit them. They play a passing game, lovely one-touch football, and looking at that pitch, it looks ready-made for them, and they'll be up for it. And intimidating atmosphere, but they've got to go out and do the business.
Well, we're ready for what should be a very good occasion in Croatia, a 40,000 crowd. Our commentators are Frank Stapleton and Alistair Mann.
Yeah, thanks, Elton. The penultimate match of the first group stages, and a draw in Zagreb tonight confirms the progress of the Champions League holders. Even a defeat won't eliminate them, but Alex Ferguson's side will then have to better Zagreb's final result in the closing matches of the group next week. And I think, as Elton's already alluded to, Zagreb playing Marseille in their final game. There is a belief that the French, preferring the Croatians to United in the latter stages, will allow that win and knock United out. Simply put, therefore, United cannot lose this one, or perhaps the defence of their trophy could end at the first stages. There already a clue to one of the absentees in the starting 11. Robert Prosinecki, their playmaker and captain, is absent, and Ozzy Ardiles' reputation for attacking play, he still has very much a solid defence though. Tokic and Tomaš were the markers at Old Trafford. Juric a sweeper. No Prosinecki in that midfield, only a place on the bench. Simic, the joint leading scorer, also an absentee. 19-year-old Mihail Mikic, you'll see at number 14, comes in to replace Simic. The first question answered, you probably saw him. Mark Bosnich retains his place in goal. Henning Berg comes in alongside Jaap Stam for his 5th successive Champions League game. Paul Scholes puts off an imminent hernia operation to become the 4th man in midfield. Messrs Cole and York will be hoping for a little more change than in the first meeting against this disciplined Zagreb outfit. Alongside me, Frank Stapleton, taking in a very intriguing evening. And already with the subs in front of us, Prosinecki, no place, that's important, isn't it?
Well, I think he's missed a lot of the games this year. He's not been really fit from the start of the season. Being out here early in September, he didn't play for the national team either, because he's decided that he doesn't want that anymore. But he hasn't played regularly in the team. But I think Ozzy Ardiles will be a bit more, throw more players forward tonight. I think it's a very important situation. Tokic tonight will just sit, I think, in front of the two markers and make the wing backs get up and down. I think they'll attack United more. I think Alec is just hoping that they just stick to the way that they played at Old Trafford. If they do that, they will never score a goal.
The shot of the man on whom so much is expected in these parts, Tomislav Šakota. And remember that if Sturm Graz hadn't defeated Croatia Zagreb last week, then a home win tonight would have meant the end of Manchester United. But defeats for both has left the Croatians 3 points behind, with this game and another to play. It is perhaps worth noting that in the first 4 matches of the Champions League last season, maybe the opposition coach Osvaldo Ardiles is aware of it, Manchester United notched up 16 goals. This time around they sit on only 5 after their first 4 Champions League matches. And an early corner for them. Andy Cole's shot deflected.
A positive start for United. They just haven't looked to sit back and soak up any pressure. They know that if they can get an early goal, they'll silence this partisan crowd here. But it's, as I say, it's important that they make inroads very early.
Swinger towards the goalkeeper. Never even reached the intended targets, headed away. Would you believe? A lack of communication between two people who know each other so well, Giggs and Beckham. Skipper and sweeper Juric, so comfortable on the ball. Likes just to tuck himself behind the last line and try and read the play. And United will have him as a barrier too, to look and try to break down. Here's York, chased by a man who was his shadow at Old Trafford. Number 20 there, Stefan Tomasz. Crowd are always passionate in these parts, and the chorus of boos will accompany every touch of the Manchester United players, particularly if they're attacking. Neville's cross, not bad. York jumping, keeping it alive. Here's Scholes. United really have started positively, but it's broken down. Listen to the roar. Rukavina with a neat back heel. Good interception though by Scholes, and United can press once more. There's no offside, is there is. Couldn't think there would be with Juric stood behind him, but the assistant on the near side flagged. But the early indications are that United look less nervous, would it be fair to say?
Well, they've settled down almost immediately and got into the stride, and that's always a very encouraging thing with United, because sometimes away from home they can be a little bit tentative, but I think it's important. They know what's at stake tonight. They mustn't lose, and I think the best way, as with Manchester United throughout the years, is their strength is in attacking.
United are so good when they attack. They scored in all their away games in the Champions League last season, although they did draw a blank in the final qualifying round against Łódź, you might remember, of Poland, and it was a goalless draw that saw them through to the Champions League and onward to an unforgettable night in Barcelona. The width is offered down the left-hand side by Rukavina. Look for him as an outlet, but one thing that watching Zagreb's previous 4 games in the Champions League has taught is that they love to hold on to the ball, and even if it means 10, 12, 14 passes, they'd rather hold on than go for something dramatic and incisive. And Sir Alex Ferguson will have watched them very carefully and know how patient they like to be. So far, they've not really expressed themselves. Chance to go inside Dennis Irwin, maybe. Irwin sticking to the task. It was a good challenge from Dennis Irwin. Manchester United's most regular player in the European Cup competition, Dennis Irwin. Here's Juric. Good challenge by Stam. Cole tried to break, but again it broke down. And now we're beginning to see what the Croatians have on offer. Tip over from Bosnic, and he needed to do so. Might have crept under the bar.
Yeah, it was a fine effort by Savic. He came inside Dennis Irwin. Obviously not a stronger foot, but that needed to be dealt with, and Bosnic made sure they took no chances and put it over.
Quickly taken, corner 2. Plenty of cover back, and United dealing with that second ball. And Yapstam, so solid, so dependable, heading it clear. Crackling atmosphere, as you would expect in the Maksimir Stadium. So Bobby Charlton, does he even need an introduction? Looking nervous, as perhaps all Manchester United fans are this evening. But they won't be too nervous if they waste ball like that, Croatia Zagreb. Phil Neville. A bit of keep ball for United, maybe. Irwin with the long ball, which really Ryan Giggs never had a prayer of getting close to. Juric. Should be comfortable for Stam.
I think the Croats decided they're just going to sit and crowd the midfield out and try and get United to play the balls long forward to the 2 front players, and with the spare man at the back, they'll be hoping that the service isn't of the quality that it's going to really trouble them. So they're quite happy just to let United play it across the back and crowd out the middle of the park.
So Alex did suggest when I was speaking to him last week that he didn't think that Croatia were the kind of team who could change too dramatically their pattern of play, and that they were one out at Old Trafford with 6 across the middle. They've changed that, but certainly they've set their stall out almost as the away side again. The best clearance there from Mark Bosnich. Slicing off the edge of the boot, and of course Mark Bosnich will be particularly keen to impress parents coming from Croatia, and indeed his first club were called Sydney Croatia when he was born in Australia. Good defending there, guarding the ball back to Bosnich from Henning Burke. Pockets of United supporters have made the trip. It's a pleasant city that they've encountered, Frank.
Yeah, they're very friendly people, not in the football stadium, but certainly out and about, very friendly, and quite a few people can actually speak good English, but it's a nice place to visit, but it's a little bit chillier than it was the last time I was here.
Juric, hustled and harried by Dwight York, and that hassling has just ended with, I was going to say time and room for Dennis Irwin, but very un-Irwin-like, much to their delight. A few mistakes creeping in. Perhaps the enormity of failure tonight has crept into both sets of players' minds. Juric. Tokic. Slightly more forward role than he played at Old Trafford for Mario Tokic. It's a poor header. Bit sloppy, if anything, the opening from these two sides, but 0-0 will suit the Reds, of course.
I much prefer when United go at a decent pace. I know they're playing away from home, and sometimes you have to take the sting out of the crowd, but I think they just allowed United to have the ball and given them the initiative, and I think they should take it. But I know that a patient side, pass the ball around and wait for the opening. But against these teams, I think if you can score an early goal, the crowd go on the back, and it's very difficult for them to come back into the match.
I had a chance to counter there, but the pass went astray. I know you were there for the Republic of Ireland's game, and the crowd were passionate almost right to the very last minute, even though their side looked like they were going to lose.
Yeah, they'd thrown everything at the Irish team on that night, and they found that it just couldn't break through, and they missed a couple of chances, and the crowd had gone actually quiet until the referee's assistant put the sign up for 5 extra minutes, and I think they got a lift from that.
Ryan Giggs trying to nick away from the nearest man to him. It was Tomasz. Irwin hooking it over his own head. Cole was coming back cleverly from an offside position. There was no flag, but neither was there the possession when he turned round. And the Croatians can build once more, but should really favour Messrs Berg and Bosnich. And Bosnich, the ball out of his area, of course, opting to side-foot it out of harm's way. Mucin. Now offside. Not the best cross ever from Mikic. And Phil Neville can tidy towards halfway, but it was ugly, but that has to be a foul. The first challenge looked a little untidy on Dwight York. Stjepan Tomasz is pretending that he and Dwight York are best of mates. It was a challenge from behind.
Yeah, it's definitely. That's the second one, but I thought the first one was a bit close to the mark, as you said. But I think he knows that he's got a job in his hands tonight, and he's just a man marker, and he won't be venturing too far forward, and just trying to stop Dwight York in itself is a tough enough job.
Beckham trying to thread it through for Cole, but it was interesting. There were 3 blue shirts around Andy Cole. Those back 3 just hardly venture across their halfway line. In fact, they've hardly ventured away from the 18-yard line so far. But they know their roles and they do them well. And Osvaldo Ardiles has them well primed. And how many red shirts were back as Croatia tried to build. The youngster Mikic trying to get away from Berg. Stam claiming offside and getting the verdict. Shikota had strayed too far.
Well, good technique from the Croats, and the slow build up, you know, just keeping possession of the ball, just hoping that one of the midfield players can get a little bit beyond the forwards, because United are keeping it tight in the centre of the park. But let's see, United just step that pace up a little bit more and put them under more pressure, and let's see just how good they are at the back.
12 minutes of circumspect observation is probably the best description. Neither side willing to commit too much, and not really a chance to speak of. Encouragement from this noisy crowd. Angry ball which Stam will be the favourite for. Berg will have time. Nice careful play. And Bosnic finding Owen. And he, for not the first time this evening either, has sliced out of play.
I think a bit surprised when we see Dennis Irwin make at least 2 mistakes in the game tonight. When he does one, you kind of your eyebrows go up a little bit, but that's 2 without any pressure.
That's his quota, isn't it? Already. Now here's Beckham. Chance to build here, maybe. Cole wins the corner. In many ways, he was settling for the corner. There wasn't too many targets in the area. Extra grip on the gloves of Mark Bosnic as he watches Beckham take the corner. Usual push and shove that you expect at set pieces. The referee from Holland, Dick Jol, is trying to calm everybody down before Beckham can swing this one over. Croatians are claiming it went out, then came back in. It scarcely matters. But, so that was the verdict. Tomislav Butina, the Croatian goalkeeper, forced into duty to replace the legend really in these parts, Dražen Ladic. Ladic actually picked up an injury in the 12th minute of the game that they lost in Austria. And Butina has been in ever since, but he's rarely played, and might be as well to test him as often as possible. In fact, at one stage this season he was 3rd choice. Sounds as though the Croatians have had similar goalkeeping problems to that of Manchester United so far this campaign. Trying to pinch too many yards. There are some basic errors tonight.
Yeah, and it doesn't augur well for United, because normally we see them dominating, and they're very quick and sharp on these things, but the Croats are getting back behind the ball and making it very difficult, and they're just a lack of concentration. I think that's all it is.
So, here's the verdict. David Beckham and Mucin. Stam comfortably dealing with Tomislav Shikota. Svitanovic trying to get more on the outside and ran out of pitch really. Neville's was in attendance. Svitanovic once more. That will be Bosnic's. No challenge even from a Croatian player. One coming in now from Mihail Mikic. Only 19 years of age, remember, and joint leading scorer Šimić only on the bench, clearly struggling with injury. And with Prozanetsky absent as well, you did feel when you saw the starting 11 that United would have every chance. David Beckham trying to play a quick free kick, but he'll be glad that it wasn't allowed. There is Prozanetsky. He really was a pivot in the last game. Everything went through him. but he's had all sorts of problems with injuries and pulls and niggles. And it looks as though Zagreb aren't quite the same side without it. York losing out on the edge of the area, crowded out once more. Look how many red shirts there are to blue. So difficult to counter. Šarić. Warder. Egged on. Space out to the left-hand side. Cvitanovic. Good striker, Croatia player. United claim the throw. Zagreb get the verdict. Mucin. Dangerous ball, which no one really attacked, and Bosnic was happy to gather comfortably.
Yeah, I think if the runner had really believed that he was going to get the ball there, it could have been a problem. And there's the national team manager. Obviously, sits there, looks like he's not bothered in the game. He does that even when he's on the sideline, Lazovic. But I think just the pace of this game, I think it suits the Croats more than it does Man United. And I'd like to see them commit themselves a little bit more without being silly. But I think they are looking to catch them on the break as well. To me, at the moment, it's just even. There's very little happening in each box.
It's almost a case, isn't it, Frank, of who's going to get impatient first?
Well, I think they know that this is a home game, and they really should be looking to get the 3 points. But it's very hard to take it out. You know, they've got great respect for the United players, but you know they'll just wait until the later stages. They'll be willing, and they're very patient as the crowd are. They'll wait until the opportunity comes, and if they get a goal ahead, it'll be backs to the wall for the rest of the match.
United will have been more than used to that in several seasons of Champions League experience. They'll probably come up against every tactic in the book on their way through quarter-finals, semi-finals, and of course the ultimate triumph in Barcelona. Cvitanovic, again poor control, this time from Sakota. Offside and a chase on. Good skills from York. Not too much support for him and forced to go backwards. Beckham went for the angle ball. Well, there was 4 blue shirts round Andy Cole's run. Beckham hasn't found his range.
I think the big difference with United to last season is that they don't seem to have that same energy that they had, particularly in the early games in the Champions League, and I just feel that they're suffering a little bit for all their exploits last season, but they still got the ability in the team. It's just getting that extra half a yard just to get there, and particularly the group of the front players, as we saw on their occasion. Dwight York did fantastic, drew 2 men, but his nearest player was 20-30 yards behind him.
It is a United side coming into the game with 4 defeats from the last 5 matches, and albeit one of them in the Worthington Cup with a weakened side against Aston Villa, it's not the form you expect with United. And I think even he would admit, Sir Alex, that they're not at their most potent at the moment this season. But they do have a free kick in striking range after Dwight York was upended. Surely it's going to be a Beckham special from here. Phil Neville is alongside, but surely only as a decoy. Only a 3-man wall presents itself, and they've fooled us all, and perhaps they'll fool Zagreb, but it didn't really matter. The header from Stam over the bar.
That came to nothing in the end, because they held the line quite high up the pitch. But I would have thought that David Beckham was worth a shot from there, as we haven't seen one of his specials for quite a while.
Well, indeed, he's only got 1 goal this season, and ironically it was a free kick in the Charity Shield. Albeit that Dwight York was close on hand to claim as well, but the Beckham specials, like that unforgettable one against Barcelona, which springs immediately to mind, hasn't quite occurred this season. Another foul on Beckham, it surely was. Hasn't been too many crunching challenges, it has to be said. It's a game that's been played at not exactly say friendly pace, but not as committed as we come to expect with a hurly-burly of the Premiership, and not even with the importance of the Champions League. Lewis Irwin Ryan Giggs trying to carve something out. Bit of space for Irwin to operate within, but Giggs has overplayed that. And Juric can just put his frame in the way and guide it out of harm's way. Time for him to stamp his authority.
Yes, I think so. And it's just those little balls, isn't it? It's just the pace of the balls just overhits. Makes it difficult for the player running onto to try and get his cross or his pass in first time. And those are the little differences that build up the big things. You know, as confidence is eroded and the results don't go for you, it just those little things become bigger things.
I think it was Jaap Stam who was suggesting that the expectation levels of a side who've won the treble can sometimes just creep into the minds of players, even players as experienced as Manchester United are. But once you've won the treble, where do you go? Distractions everywhere, like the World Club Championship and a visit to Tokyo. Debates about the FA Cup still reigning and a decision supposedly about to take place this weekend. So much off-the-field discussion about the greatest club side in the world. But just at the moment, they have a chance to defend against some what looked like good pressing. Oh wow, what's that going to be? Referee has ignored it totally. His arms never flinched, and 40,000 Croatians believe they've been robbed of a penalty. I'm not so sure.
Well, it was close. I think that the player made a bit too much of it, but it'd be interesting to see it again. Just to see, I think the Scots did make contact, but I think the player had lost possession of the ball, but very, very close. But the referee was in an excellent position.
Yes, he was, and the reason I'm so convinced it wasn't a penalty was that he was so unreactive. Oh, he's jumped over the leg rather than the other way around. Yeah, he was on his way down before he even made contact with him. Again, excellent refereeing, and you know, if the referee had been a bit further away, he could have possibly given that. Not untold for a booking to be administered in such circumstances, but we'll not dwell on that for the moment. Šarić's ball headed away by Jaap Stam. So a corner to defend. Edin Mucin will have the opportunity to cross, not closed down in too much of a hurry. Perhaps it's all part of a set plan, but the power on the shot was never going to trouble anybody. And cleared by Dwight York. A little flat at the moment.
Yeah, the game it has gone a little bit dead, but anything going forward, anywhere near the box, and the crowd, they get right behind the team. And at the moment, United's dictating the pace of the game, but as I said, there isn't too much happening. I suppose you'd be looking to venture more men forward. But we mustn't forget that a draw tonight and also a win next week will get them through.
Irwin. Stam. Phil Neville. Little flick, an attempt to run on through it by Andy Cole. Cvetanovic. Given away, Scholes has it. Cole, good challenge from him, but it breaks and there's a chance now to build. And that's easy from Bosnic. Remember that, a goalkeeper having to do very much at all. And we're 25 and a half minutes into the first half already. And this was the decision that both I and Frank believe was definitely not a penalty. The referee concurred. And if anything, it might even have been a booking for Edin Mucin. Well, there's an intriguing later scoreline from Austria. Sturm Graz, who conquered Zagreb last time out and now conquering Marseille. And suddenly the equations become a whole heap different. I guess in many ways that possibly could mean that even Sturm Graz might have designs on second spot, or even, I think they can make top spot, but this game is now, if they're aware of it, even more intriguing, because One thing it could mean is that Marseille will have to get something from their last game, and that could be a real humdinger. And it's all ifs and buts with 26 minutes in each game gone. Sturm Graz suddenly are eyeing 6 points. Claims that cross had gone out. Assistant said no, and United have a corner.
Always plenty of bodies there, isn't there? They don't commit too many people forward, and for the home side that's disappointing, but I think they're very aware of the strike force that United have got, and one lack of concentration and it could be a goal down.
Here comes corner, it's a good one, Stam almost there. York, I think, threw himself at it too, but he's got himself hurt in the process. A flying clash of heads.
Yeah, I think they were both surprised that the ball came and ended up probably taking their eyes off it and ended up heading each other. It looks like Dwight York's just caught him on the side of the head. The defender managed to get the ball away.
Yes, indeed. Both York and Tokic, as you say, Frank, was surprised that the ball went over the first players on the near post. Now we call that a welcome from the locals. There it is again.
Yeah, both players going for it, and the defender did well, but also took the knock, so they'll both be okay. Thankfully, there's nothing, no cuts.
Referee going to invite the players to attack a drop ball.
The referee's done well, Alistair, I think, because there's not been too much over aggression or anything, or any fouls that he's had to deal with, and he looks to have a good manner. I hope I'm not speaking too early, because I've seen this on other occasions where you look like the referee's had a very good game, and then he comes out of the blue and makes a decision that defies logic.
Oh, just a minute, an opportunity now for United. Roy Keane snapping away, but it just went too far. Beckham on the wrong foot perhaps, and suddenly the cool, calm and collected back four or back three play looked anything but, as Roy Keane put in one of the best challenges of the night so far. Juric are still trying to play the way out, credit to them for that. United snapping away, still it's not completely clear. Ryan Giggs almost in there, and they are still insistent on passing the way out of trouble.
And that just may be the way forward for United, is to push on and see exactly how good they are. And on that occasion they wanted a bit more time on it. They take maximum risks, but if you remember when Ozzy Adilas was at Tottenham, they tried to do the same and it didn't work out for them.
Probably the best tackle of the first half an hour from Roy Keane. At last, suddenly, a pick-up in the pace from both sides, a little more urgency. But it was noticeable how keen Croatia Zagreb were to retain possession and not just hoof it into the stands.
I think that's down to the coach. He thinks that if you take a big risk at the back, you're going to maybe get a bit more room when you get into the forward positions, but I think there's a time and a place to play, and I don't think that's where it was.
Well, Goran Juric has gone down with what looks like a hamstring pull, and if that's the case, surely he'll have to make way. Certainly that's what the referee Dick Jol is suggesting, and he is another vital cog in the wheel.
Yeah, that's good news for United, because he's the organiser at the back, behind everybody, and keeps the markers in place. And I think that he's a very, very, very useful player. And if he goes off, that'll upset their rhythm a little bit.
Well, he's making way for sure. 36 years of age. Well, surely if Prosinecki comes on, it'll be a major tactical reshuffle.
Yeah, I think they will probably put Tokic back, and he'll just go in the middle of the park. And one way it's a blessing for United. The other way it isn't, because Prosinecki coming on, he's a real playmaker, and he's
United suddenly have a free kick right on the edge of the area. Scholes trying to escape the attentions of both Tokic and Mucin. Suddenly found himself on the deck, and United are in certainly striking distance. Well, Juric is going to try and battle on. He surely pulled a hamstring there. All the signs were that that's what he'd done.
He still doesn't look right to me. I think that they've probably warmed it up and put it on it just to keep him going till half-time, but I think once he stops, it'll be a problem.
No, surely this is David Beckham rather than a Ryan Giggs side of the field. The argument going on in the box. Beckham in, brilliant. It's about time he's put one in, and it was so easy. When he does get them on target, you wonder why he doesn't do it every time. Magnificent goal from David Beckham.
Well, it looks like to me that the Croats were so surprised, but we're not surprised. What a great strike of the ball. It was past the keeper before he saw it, and right in the bottom corner. That's class goal. And as you said, we've been waiting for David Beckham to score a goal like that, and lo and behold, he does it.
It just looks so easy when he gets them right, doesn't it, Frank?
It does indeed, and it's hard to stop. That's the thing about it. And the top goalkeepers have been watching those go past him.
A fabulous strike from David Beckham, and the shock, as much as anything, caught me. Didn't seem that it had the power, but it certainly had the trajectory, and it just angled into the corner away from Butina, who could get nowhere. It shows you don't necessarily need power, do you?
Well, that's it. You just connect right with the ball and you get it on target. The keeper has all sorts of problems because the ball did come round the wall, but he's such a sweet striker of the ball, David Beckham.
Fabulous, fabulous goal. And can Manchester United now go on and turn this into a much more comfortable evening's play? Butina hardly covering himself with glory there, parrying it. Well, this will force Croatia Zagreb into, well, a game that's alien to them.
Well, they will have to now. They'll have to commit more men forward. I think that'll suit United because they're much stronger when they're in this sort of position, keeping the ball, keeping possession, and looking for the opening. And now that the Croats are a goal down, they're just going to leave one or two spaces behind.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous goal from David Beckham. And to be fair, it's been deserved. He's been getting close with free kicks, closer and closer. Giggs claiming in the other corner. That is just perfection, isn't it? Oh, can he deliver perfectly once more? Not a bad corner, but pushing is the verdict. And Berg is surprised, but the referee again, to be fair to him, was well placed. Now this will show us just how. Look at that gap. It's what, 5 or 6 feet, if that. And the keeper's full stretch and he can't get there. Yeah,
I think Juric didn't help his situation, and he ran in front of the goalkeeper. I think he may have thought that he might have been able to get his head to it, but he tried to get it away.
That's not a bad ball in, and Sakota almost got on the end. Phil Neville playing it safe, clearing, and if anything was going to change the tempo of this game, a goal would surely be that. And the introduction of Prosinecki will add another exciting ingredient into the mix.
Well, I think they had to do something. They had to change. I mean, why the player came back on in the first place, I don't know. But Prosinecki is one of those players who can turn a game on his own. But obviously, they're a goal down now, and the situation is totally different than from the start of the game.
Well, he will make sure that it is a different game of football as Bosnic catches the cross. They were so defensive, and as Juric makes his way off the field, perhaps it might be a blessing in disguise for the Croatians if they're to change their style of play, that a substitution has presented itself as obviously as that. Offside before the youngster Mikic could take any advantage. And Manchester United now know that Croatia must score twice. Croatia are equally aware of the task. Dennis Irwin. Cole's run. Manages to keep his footing before slamming into the advertising boards. Hasn't really been involved, Cole, nor York, to be fair. So in one way, the Croatia's defensive game plan has worked, but now the defensive game plan must be torn up, thrown away, and this man must express himself.
Yeah, and he's got to get the space to do it, but it's important for United that don't just give them you know, give him the respect that he deserves, but don't give him the space, otherwise he'll hurt you.
Well, you mentioned that the crowd don't give up. They've been in full voice despite going a goal down. Good turn by Mikic, down left on the deck, but his pass was poor. And Roy Keane, who has been bossing the defensive midfield duties as he does so well, just guided it back and the danger passed. Here's Irwin. Giggs just in front of it. Here is Giggs. Irwin's continued the run, trying to pick out Cole, but wasn't to be. A bit more stretch than normal now, United. Roy Keane comes back to add his extra weight. Prosinecki, nice little drag back, richly applauded. Svitanovic. Away though by Berg, and comfortable for Scots. Just don't seem dynamic enough at the moment, Croatia, but Prosinecki has only been on a couple of minutes and he'll start pulling the strings a little differently.
I should think when Ardiles gets the team in at half-time, he'll change it quite a bit. He'll get the two wide players to push on a lot more than they have done. That will leave some gaps, but of course United will have to defend as well, but they have the capability of scoring more goals.
Scholes, scoop ball, lovely, accurately. Beckham. Should be the goalkeepers, but again, he doesn't look confident. Again, he's not looking anything other than what he is, which is basically third choice goalkeeper. I do feel if United can test him a few more times that the nets will bulge once more. Prosinecki looking for the ball back. Here is Prosinecki. Suddenly he's introducing the wing play. But Svitanovic's ball in is poor, and Giggs hooks it away. Tokic. Prosinecki. Looking for runners, and there aren't too many offering themselves. Again, he wants it back, Prosinecki. And he ought to have done, and Manchester United are just saying thank you very much, keeping them 20-25 yards away. And I can't remember Mark Bosnick's doing very much more than a little catching practice.
I think it's just developing into, you know, one of those European away matches where you get a goal and you soak up the pressure and just wait now, without inviting them onto you too much, but just waiting for them to make a mistake.
Svitanovic almost picked out Sakota. Chance now for Prosinecki, and there is Mark Bosnich's first save. And he made sure he didn't spill it with Mikic ready to pounce. Well, he's not been on long, Prosinecki, but I can think of 5-6 passes and now a shot that have announced him into the game.
Yes, and it was a good effort there, but it was being closed down. It doesn't actually look 100% fit to me. I think if he had been, he would have started the game. So it is a little bit of a risk.
Here's Giggs now. Couldn't quite thread it through for Cole, who just threw his arms in the air, aghast that the pass never reached him. And Prosinecki's fitness, which Frank was questioning, perhaps was in question there. He just couldn't find third or even fourth gear. Here's a man that can, Ryan Giggs. Little dummy from York. How many times have they tried that, York and Cole? Roy Keane on the edge of the area. Scholes wrapped against the back of the defender before it could do any damage. Now Giggs with time to cross. That's normally danger. Little bit too much on it. Kept alive though. What a chance maybe, but not controlled by Dwight York. York probably was surprised and couldn't control it.
Well, that was great, following up by David Beckham. He knocked the ball in. I think Dwight York was very surprised. A very deep cross by Ryan Giggs, but he came back, and he's been impressive tonight, I've got to say. David Beckham, you know, he's produced the crosses, and obviously that goal has helped his confidence.
Suddenly there seems to be a lot more space for Ryan Giggs, and he's surely halted illegally. Caught by Daniel Šadić. Invites the hand of friendship.
They're having a real problem with the wide players now, because they're having to chase the game a little bit. The wide players on United's side, both Beckham and Giggs, are getting plenty of the ball and putting in crosses, and it's nice to see Ryan Giggs running at people again and being positive, and he's gradually coming more and more into the game.
Again, it's not impossible for David Beckham to repeat the dose, but because he's already been successful once, you feel the keeper will know what he's going to try, and well, it's asking too much even of the perfectionist who tries them over and over again in training to repeat the same formula. More space for the Croatians to build. From behind, Ryan Giggs, and Nikic, and a free kick to the home side. Disbelievingly then that the referee had penalised him.
I think he ended up injuring himself. He just come from behind the player, and I think he just might have cut his leg just as he went down, or even his knee there. So I think that's what that's what the face was for.
Well, Sakota has already scored a wonderful free kick in the Champions League from a similar position, and he has a good left foot on him. Bosnich can watch that go out of harm's way.
Yeah, he's always a threat, this guy, as we saw in the preview. He knocked one or two, did knock one over the wall, similar position, but he is playing against a higher quality team tonight.
Well, Bosnich will have enjoyed the return to his homeland. Hasn't had very much to do. A shot from Prosinecki, which was awkward for a goalkeeper, just bouncing in front of him, and with attackers homing in on any rebound, needed to be clutched, and was. Cop, Beckett, Phil Neville. Given away though. Svitanovic trying to open it up, but so few options for them to open it up. Here's Šarić, given away, good tackle from Beckham, read it, got in there. Prosinecki. He's looking up all the time, and the options are being reduced all the time, but that pass almost managed to find its way through to Šarić. And we're into the final minute of what's been an excellent first half's work from Manchester United, and in particular for David Beckham. With a simply terrific free kick out of his very own top draw.
Yeah, I think United will be very, very happy with the first 45 minutes, particularly if they go in with this lead. It's important then, you know, that they wait for the second half to see what the Croats do. But so far, it's been a good night's work.
Plenty of thinking for Osvaldo Ardiles. He has 2 minutes of added time to play with before he can express his thoughts to his side. It was interesting that his previous team in Japan had the best defensive record in Japanese football, and that his side, Zagreb, are noted for their defensive qualities too. And Alex Ferguson will know that coming forward is very much against the majority of the players' nature, which is why 1-0 is such a potent scoreline. It'll be an intriguing second half, because Croatia, in front of their own fans, will not want to disappoint. And Manchester United's nature is to counter. And they will be presented with plenty of opportunities in which to do so. I don't want to put the kiss of death on this game, but it doesn't feel like it'll end at 1-0, does it?
No, I think that provided they do the jobs right, I think United can win this by 2 or 3 goals in the end. But there's still a little bit of work to be done at the beginning of the second period.
Just as they silenced the crowd in the first 10 minutes of the first half, so they'll try to do the same in the opening exchanges of the second. Into the second minute of the 2 of added time. Neville, now Berg, Bosnich will be quite pleased if he has as little to do in the second half as he was required to do in the first. Becker looking for Neville. All eyes on the Dutch referee. White York looks as though he's just playing for time, hoping to kill the clock, and they've managed it successfully too, and they'll take their 1-0 lead into half-time. And so Alex Ferguson, I suspect, will have plenty of good things to say about his side, and of course to David Beckham, whose exquisite free kick, swinging from right to left, from the left edge of the area, left goalkeeper Tomislav Butina clawing at thin air. And the Manchester United faithful who've travelled to Croatia will be enjoying themselves.
Driving the Toyota Avensis, you can just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Blackpool Pleasure Beach. How long have you got? 2 minutes? 2 hours? 2 days? A whole week? Blackpool Pleasure Beach, the roller coaster capital of the world. How long have you got?
3 years ago, my IT guys told me there'd be 2 kinds of businesses. Those with a vision to master the internet, and those without. And we didn't want to be the second kind. Then Dell came to see us. They showed us how to use the internet for direct relationships with our customers, suppliers, everyone who's a part of our business. With Dell's support, there's no limit to where I can take this company. We always knew we needed the internet. We just didn't know how badly.
Be direct. Dell. Dell servers feature Intel Pentium 3 processors.
Right, son, you're an Arsenal fan. Arsenal. Got it?
The UEFA Champions League. It matters. See it all only with On Digital. Don't miss a single game. Get your free box today.
And welcome back to the Champions League Live. Good news for Manchester United all round in Group D. Not only are they leading Croatia's Zagreb away by a goal to nil, but would you believe it, Sturm Graz are beating Marseille by a goal to nil. Now, if those two results are the same after 90 minutes, then United will actually top the group tonight. So what was all the worry about in the first place? But anyway, George first. I mean, the fit of peak theory was kicked into touch very early on because the tempo of the game has been most peculiar, hasn't it?
It's been very weird. It's been like a practice match. I mean, it's and the Beckham goal was really their first attempt on target, and it's been very disappointing. You think the game means so much to both sides. There hasn't been one yellow card in these days. That's amazing. But particularly in the European game.
Sort of, Sammy, wouldn't you? In the first 20 minutes, you thought there's bound to be a yellow card for something.
I just can't understand Aussie's tactics. They're at home, 40,000 people. OK, respect the European champions, you've got to. But I mean, there's so much respect being showed United here. They're playing in third gear, United. As George said, it's a friendly game, it's a practice game. Why not have a go? 20 minutes, have a go. Try and get an early goal, and then it's a different ball game.
I mean, all the credit has gone to David Beckham for yet another wonderful strike. But the two of you both went, ooh, don't quite fancy where the keeper was at the start of it. Let's have a look now.
Well, it's not so easy to see from this angle, but I think we're going to see it from a couple of angles. And but he's actually, before David's hit the ball, the keeper was on the left-hand side and then moved to the centre of the goal.
Yeah, he was to the... Yes, I see what you mean. He was sort of to one side of the wall, Sam. You spotted it straight away and then said, crikey, he's moved a foot to the right.
Where the ball actually went in, the goalkeeper was exactly there. And before David Beckham took it, he moved to the centre. And he scored a lot better free kicks than that, Beckham. I mean, everyone's saying it's a great goal, but I'd put it down to a goalkeeping error.
OK, but still give him some credit. I mean, because we know he can certainly crack them from there, and obviously worries goalkeepers too. The only real chance, I suppose, apart from a speculative 25-yarder, was when Prozanecki came on, and with minutes, Bosnich had to make his only real save of the game.
But we knew Prozanecki, if he came on, was going to be a danger man. Yeah, really, this was their only sort of half chance. And Bosnich has gone down. Difficult because when it bounces just in front of the keeper, it makes it difficult for him. But he's held it well. So, but second half, you've got to expect them to come in. I think Aussie will be saying to me, you know, this is our last chance. We've got to go out. So hopefully it'll liven the game up a little bit.
Do you think the sort of Manchester United defence are fully confident in Mark Bosnich and his kicking? I mean, this is not a Bosnich witch hunt at all, but I mean, he is not convincing in these positions, Sammy, is he?
No, when the ball is especially to his right foot. I mean, he is very left, and every time the ball goes back to him, there's no confidence at all in him. I mean, you can just see he can't kick it 10, 15 yards. So I'd rather kick it in the stand and regroup and instead of kicking it back to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, Stan particularly, George, a player who you admire a great deal, as you said at the top of the programme, it's getting into Rose Ed. You know, let's not even take a chance with having to knock it back to Mark.
Well, I think it's important these days, particularly since the back pass rule come in, that keepers not only with their good foot, but their bad foot, which Bosnich's right is obviously his weaker foot. But you've got to hope that they can get it some distance, and sometimes it puts the defenders in two minds. And sometimes I think maybe Stan might think, well, I'll smack it as far as I can into the stand, and as somebody says, regroup and hope for the best at the end of the day. OK, for the time being, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes' time with the update from Wembley, where Arsenal are playing Fiorentina. That comes shortly after these.
I think he has a persuasive nature about him.
I thought he was a thug. He growls.
He's on the go all the time.
He'd always be ringing me on my mobile or on the way to the track or at the track. How's he done? Is he run well? And
he started dancing with my nan, and he was like on the floor and spinning around. On your knee. It was really embarrassing.
He eats like a horse.
Loves beetroot.
He's really, really quiet.
We will speak on the telephone at least 8 times a day, and that's wherever we are.
Welcome to your world, from 1 to 1.
for a faultless, smooth drive, the new Mondeo Z-Tech.
President, what is your response to the allegation?
The Thailand thing?
I honestly thought they were women.
That is not the allegation.
The hospital funds? The opposition leader? Bye-bye. Pedro?
Mr. President, you once had a summer job.
So?
Exporting Carlsberg export.
Brewed slightly stronger for a smoother taste, the Danes hate to see Carlsberg export leave, almost as much as we like to see it arrive.
Mr. President, Plan B.
Let me tell you what bugs me about human endeavour. I've never been the human in question. Have you? Mankind went to the moon. I don't even know where Grimsby is. Land on your own moon. It's no longer about what they can achieve out there in your behalf, but what we can experience up here in our own time. It's called mental wealth.
Smirnoff Ice, as clear as your conscience.
And welcome back. Well done to Manchester United thus far. Well done to Chelsea last night. Let's just check how Arsenal are doing in Group B at the moment. At Wembley, they're playing Fiorentina, and it is 0-0. And in the other match there, not surprisingly, Barcelona, who was so exhilarating at Wembley, beating Solna by 3-0. Sammy, a brief one on Arsenal's decision to play their home games at Wembley and not Highbury. An extra 30,000, great revenue, but it looks like it might cost them a Champions League place in the future.
I find it baffling, to be honest with you. I mean, these great sides like Barcelona, Fiorentina, go to Wembley, lovely surface, big open spaces. They can pass the ball about for fun. Whereas Highbury, as George and myself know, it's a very, very tight ground. Don't like playing there, and you get the crowd right on top of these foreign players, can upset them. I just can't understand why Arsenal go to Wembley. Obviously the money, but if you want to continue,
long term, they could earn more by having played at their matches at Highbury. George, what a lot of people don't realise is that whoever finishes third in all the groups in the Champions League, sort of eliminated, if you like, in the Champions League, or all of a sudden it's welcome to the UEFA Cup, guys. You know, they join that in the fourth round. Do you, like George Graham says, do you find that farcical?
Well, it's become Mickey Mouse, hasn't it? I mean, almost every year now the rules change. And if you're a football fan, as we all are, it's baffling. I mean, I just cannot understand it. And you can understand people like George Graham going absolutely berserk over it. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. I don't know who makes these decisions. Well, it's the guys upstairs. But I just can't understand it. It's nuts.
Well, thankfully, the way things are in Zagreb at the moment, Manchester United won't have to worry about that, Sammy. I mean, do you think Ozzy, in his own quiet little way, will have sort of read the riot act, as you were saying earlier? Or
he's got to have a real go now, Alton. He must come out and give the crowd something to cheer, because they've done nothing in that first half.
I mean, you know him so well, George. I mean, what I mean, is he sort of, you go play football, or do you say go and get stuck up, you know?
Well, I mean, we all know what a great player Ozzy was. He never sort of Mustafa got raised his temper, but he's got to try and G them up, because as Sammy said, they've done absolutely nothing, and this is their last chance. They've got to do something.
And it's about to start, the second 45 minutes. Frank Stapleton and Alistair Mann are your commentators.
Yeah, thanks, Elton. It's worth noting that in the days of the European Cup, the holders would regularly retain their trophy. The likes of Real Madrid, Benfica, Ajax and Bayern Munich were matched, of course, by Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. But the story is a little different recently. Nobody's retained the trophy in the 90s, and we've had 9 different winners in 10 years. So it does suggest that it gets harder and harder to retain. Holders look as though they're negotiating the first tricky hurdle of this new group stage prior to the next group stage.
Certainly that is a point, but the early stage of this second half will be important for United. Just kill the crowd again, don't give them too much encouragement. United have done this time and time again, and they're still playing below par, but they're still doing enough to win this game. We'll wait and see what reaction the players will give to the manager, and I'm sure he had something to say at half-time. But as George said in the studio there, I don't think he's one for bawling and shouting. He'll just talk nice and calmly to the players and expect them to come up with the goods.
6 teams have already booked a place in the next group stages. Osvaldo Ardiles, Croatia Zagreb, will do their best to try and halt Manchester United, joining the lucky half dozen already. Porto, Real Madrid, Valencia, Sparta Prague, Barcelona and Bordeaux. And doubtless 1 or 2 more may emerge at the end of this evening's play. And let's keep our fingers crossed that one of them are the Reds of Manchester United. Can't see too much tactically different in the way that Croatia have set out their stall in the second half. Stam is penalised. Frank, notice anything particularly different?
Well, I think they've brought the 2 strikers closer together. Mikic and Sagata really look to push on now on top of Stam and Berg. So they're looking for them, plus the 2 wide players to go up. Now they've got nothing to lose by pushing forward, and they get back in the game. I think that you will really hear the crowd getting behind them.
Kozanecki have a little back heel. You could see from the angle with which we were watching it there that Svitanovic's shot had plenty of bend on it, plenty of purchase on it, but you could also see that Bosnic always felt it was going off target.
Yeah, indeed, but once you got the ball rolling, the moving ball is easier to hit. Svitanovic, he hit it well, but it was always going away from the post. But I'm not so sure that Mark Bosnic would have got there.
Really just watched it go by and had it swerved. You see on the first few yards that it's bending one way, it then bends another. And to then quickly back into defensive play after the pass went astray. Sakota was trying to get involved, but it was interesting that the bend went one way, then the other. And Mark Bosnic never really felt that he was troubled by it. So an early scare, an early encouragement for the home side. Roy Keane still happily playing the anchor role in the midfield. So Alex Ferguson clearly not happy that the wind has returned to the sails of the home side. Here's Dennis Irwin to try and halt that particular statistic. A deflection from Roy Keane's shot, it's gone in, and Roy Keane will claim there was a vicious deflection, and has that finally put paid to Croatia Zagreb?
Well, I think so. I think what a great time to get a goal, particularly after they've threatened straight from the kick-off. And as we saw in the game in Graz when Roy came onto it, and it's always worth a try. And once he'd hit the ball, it was on target, but the one of the defenders, I think, got past the keeper, had no chance because he was going the other way. As we see it from behind, yes, I think it's hit number 6 then. And just, he couldn't really do anything. He was gone. The keeper had it covered. It's hit the defender on the left foot. And that's great for United. And now the Croats really are up against it.
Well, it was a well-struck shot, very lazy leg from the defender, which proved costly. And Croatia now have an uphill task, and they're going to have to try everything to turn it round. And I would think they'll be thinking in terms of perhaps kamikaze football. This was what led to the goal. That is the goal. If there was a question of offside, but to be fair, the defence never appealed for it.
No, I don't think so. I think the players were trying to get back onside, and there was no interference with the goalkeeper on that occasion. But I think it's Tokic it actually hits. And it just comes off his left foot. I didn't think he knew very much about it, as did the keeper as well. He was past him again before he knew what was happening.
Manchester United 2 clear in Zagreb on an evening where a draw will take them into the next phase. Seems like the job is, if not totally done, almost done.
Well, Manchester United's professionalism should come into play now. I mean, they'll keep the ball, and again, invite a little bit of pressure, but I would expect that this is a winning position.
Brozanetsky, even more weight of expectation and hope on his shoulders. Šarić. Chance now. He was about to crack it. Took one extra touch, and Tomasz is regretting that he took that extra touch.
I think indeed he just should have come onto it and struck it straight away, but didn't even get it on target. Maybe he nearly got a nosebleed. Went through a tackle with Stam, just took it on too far. And the thing is, there's not been too many efforts like that. We've seen a little bit more in this second half from them, but when they've left it too late, if they started out the game with this, maybe would have seen more of a contest. But from United's point of view, it's ideal.
To put this game safe and sound. Just an interesting thought going through my mind. The latest score we had was that Sturm Graz were leading in Marseille. We'd almost, well, we had virtually written them out of the competition. If they were to hang on to victory against Marseille, that would be 6 points. If they then were to do the unthinkable and win at Old Trafford, that would be 9 points. And suddenly they're very much into contention. Anyway, that's something to think about in the remaining 38 minutes of this half. After the start the Austrians had made, they'd been all but written out of the equation. Again, he took his time to look up and play the right ball, and then got too much on it. Sakota made the run for it. To throw. Well, to be fair to the locals, they never give up on their side, do they?
No, and I think if they were to get a goal back, I think it would make an interesting last 35 minutes or so, and I think that United will have to make sure that they do the job professionally. The most important thing now is to make sure they keep a clean sheet and get out of here with the 3 points and move on to the next game. And obviously the quarterfinals of this competition is when it really all hots up, because you got back to the two-leg situation.
Well, young Mihail Mikic has clearly not impressed Osvaldo Ardiles, and the potent strike force of Simic and Sakota is returned back to the fold.
I was a bit surprised that Simic wasn't playing because he is the first choice. He must be carrying a knock, but I thought the young lad didn't do very much. He looked a little bit inexperienced and never really troubled the defence, though. I'd say the formation didn't help him either.
Now here's Giggs on the counter. He's just let that go out of his control. And by doing so, he allowed Rukavina to pickpocket and come away. Foul by Roy Keane, whose goal, well, just over 3 minutes into the second half, looks to have put Manchester United into cruise control, but they would never have contemplated the Sturm Graz equation. A win, of course, and United are out of sight and through. A draw, and then a defeat to Sturm Graz, and Sturm Graz go ahead of Manchester United.
They're only being positive here tonight, and it's 2 wins from United, certainly, in my opinion.
Well, we have to play these games, don't we, Frank? Just to cover every angle, every option, every possibility. That's a good ball from Ryan Giggs, and it almost found its way through. This is York and Cole were away from their markers. The ball never arrived. Very close by, Dwight York appended by Tokic. Well, Simic and Sakota have scored 22 goals between them. And very much the leading pair. And with Prosinecki, the midfield general, now on the field as well, they're more like the first 11 that perhaps United would have expected to be up against. And a foul on Andy Cole. Scott. Owen. Scholes once more. No foul on the edge of the area. United have possession anyway with David Beckham. It's a lovely ball in and a good header away by Tokic. And foul. Is that going to be a booking as well on Phil Neville? It looks like it will be. It is indeed the first booking of the evening.
A bit of a lunge there by Phil Neville. There was no real need. I think he'd lost control of the ball, and the player come and nicked it away. He had no chance of winning it, but ended up on his backside and gets a yellow card for his trouble.
Sakota. Prosinecki. Good run to the left by Sakota, but Prosinecki is looking right. In fact, he's looking for the shot. I'm not sure what Svitanovic was trying there, but you can safely say it didn't come off. United have then been caught in the midfield area, and here's Prosinecki. Always seems to have time and room, even if he isn't quite 100% fit. Time to spread the play. Svitanovic, Sakota, lost control, fell over, and probably would have been close to a booking there. York. Giggs. Keane. Cole. Good play from Andy Cole. Went for goal, and that came off Paul Scholes. And goes for the goal kick.
Well, the goalkeeper again didn't show much confidence. He completely lost the ball, and it came back off his chest, hit Scholes as he was running in, and I think Paul Scholes was looking to pick it up, but he just couldn't control it. Again, the goalkeeper looks very, very nervous.
Forward for a forward is Alex Ferguson's decision. Dwight York is replaced by, he hardly needs any introduction, the European Cup winner himself, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like for like, I think we can safely say. Space for Sakota. Prosinecki. Beckham making it difficult for him to pick out the next pass, but he has done so effectively too. Shakota trying to turn away, didn't quite manage it. Šarić. You could see that Šimić was shaping for the volley, but it never really arrived for that. Great tackle by Scholes. Well, it's been judged a bookable offence, and I think he can count himself pretty unlucky there.
Yeah, he did make contact with the player. It's an interpretation by the referee. And as you see in some of these European games, you get a yellow card for absolutely nothing. And I think if they show the replay, we'll see whether he felt there was real intent there. But didn't seem to have any. No, there was no inclination there just to have a look at it. He just took his yellow card out straight away.
And as you might have spotted there, he now misses the next game, which will be against Sturm Graz next week.
I think that's been the disappointing part. Is you would have expected him to be a bit more creative in the last third of the pitch, and they just haven't had it tonight. And very unusual for Croatian sides, because they, particularly the top sides in the country, they usually got midfield players like Prosneci, but don't seem to have anybody that's going to come after him.
Formerly known as Dinamo Zagreb, Croatia by far the strongest team in their domestic league. And indeed, they've yet to lose a game in that league. And if you think that competition began in July, it tells you a great deal about them. And certainly the richest club in Croatian football, and the average wage of a Croatian Zagreb player is believed to be as much as 10 times the average wage of any of the players in the rival team. So I guess it explains why they attract the best players and dominate in Croatia, but on the European stage it's a different ball game. Here's Giggs. Now Scholes. Neville. Deep cross, but comfortably dealt with. Keane. Waited for Dennis Irwin to make the overlap, but the pass was never really favouring the advancing fullback. That pass was never really favouring the Zagreb players either. Here's Scholes, and he too's giving possession away. It's been messy, hasn't it, Frank?
Yeah, and it hasn't been really top pace in the game tonight, but I think they've done more than enough. United. It's I think when they're really threatened, it maybe brings the best out of them. And as you say, the passing at times when they haven't been under pressure, that's been a little bit disappointing, but they've done enough, and I think that's the most important thing. There are bigger games to come.
Solskjaer. First touch for him since he came on. Now Beckham. Too much on that. Unlike him as well.
I don't think the keeper knew what to do either. He was stuck to his line, and there'd been somebody coming in. It would have been an easy header, but as you say, it was overhit by David Beckham. But at the moment, United just seem to be in second gear, and just countering anything that the Croats have to show.
Yeah, Stam penalised by his countryman Dick Jol. Referee. No booking, but he showed his studs, and that was sufficient for the referee to award the free kick. Well, there's still almost half an hour for Zagreb to try and, certainly doesn't need to lift the crowd, but maybe lift their own play. The crowd, to be fair, are just singing and chanting and just enjoying the evening, and imagine what they would be like if they were to halve the deficit. Kozanecki upended by Roy Keane there, and it is shooting range, and last time they came pretty close to opening their account. Shakota looks the likeliest, does have a stinging left foot, and that took a deflection, and that'll be the corner.
Again, it's just straightforward. There was no surprises there, but they're wanting to get on with the game.
Mucin takes the corner quickly. Kozanecki waiting before delivering. Mucin. He'll stay in. Tomasz. Keane staying tight to him. Shakota trying to flick it on. Thumped out of harm's way by Ryan Giggs. Rukavina was the last man back. Šarić. Sakota. Still Sakota. Almost opened up for him. Berg with time to guide it back to his keeper. Almost opened up for Sakota momentarily. Almost. Not quite. Scots. Now Neville. Returning the passes. Berg. Irwin. Now United quite happy and understandably playing the possession game. Sturm Graz are still doing their utmost to keep themselves in the competition. Dugarry scoring for Marseille. Kocian putting Graz back in control once more. And if they win, they go to 6 points above Zagreb and within striking distance of Marseille. And of course, they do have the small matter of Old Trafford to negotiate, but maybe with Man United, if they do manage to hang on to this victory, maybe the United side slightly less committed, shall we say, than they might ordinarily be. Maybe Sturm Graz can see a chink of light to get themselves through to the next stages of the Champions League. Šarić rather helped himself over the top of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's challenge there, and Solskjaer is making that point to Šarić.
I think what happened, he knocked the ball past him, knew he'd pushed it too far and threw himself into the player, and the referee was a little bit away, but his assistant gave it on this side, so it was, I think he did get away with it, but a bit of a wry smile there from Solskjaer.
Paul Scholes making his way off the field. He misses the next match anyway, and Jonathan Greening will replace him. The young 20-year-old who United signed from York City.
I expect that he'll go on the right-hand side and David Beckham will come into the centre.
Have a free kick to defend though. Kozinetsky guiding it over. As we watch the play from the opposite end of the field. There's Svitanovic. Good header away. Kozinetsky. And still. Not a bad ball in, and one of the best opportunities that Sturm Graz on the brain, Croatia Zagreb have had, and good defending kept them out.
Yeah, it did in the end. He did get a half a yard ahead, but it was a good challenge to make sure that he didn't get it on the target, and Stjapstam again just did enough to put him off, and then the Syrian just let the ball run out. But again, a little bit of a warning, you know, they don't want to make it difficult for themselves, you know, with just over 20 minutes left.
Well, there is genuine belief, and if the crowd can add to that belief, we could have a game on our hands in the last 22 minutes or so. Now they're going to introduce another striker, or at least an attacking midfielder. Mienko Mumlek coming on. Former Croatian under-21 international. And he was signed just prior to the European Champions League deadline, and he has scored a few goals from the midfield already this season. Svitanovic, who was hugging the left-hand side, although there wasn't too much in the way of possession down that side, has made way for him. So all three substitutions have now been made by Osvaldo Ardiles. In many ways, he has nothing left other than to sit back and see. Now there's a United player in a heap there.
Yeah, it's David Beckham. He just took a little knock there, a late challenge by the midfield player, and just as he played the ball out to the right, he just got a knock on the shin. It was a late tackle, but the referee let it go on because I think he wanted the play to give them advantage in the play. If you just see it there, yeah, again, it's Sakota.
Yeah, to be fair to the referee, he made a mental note of it, went back and booked it.
United can do without any more injuries, certainly at this moment in time. And hopefully, just being a kick, it won't be too serious.
So last thing Sir Alex Ferguson needs, another injury. The Champions League, of course, is an ineligible competition for Michael Silvestre and Massimo Taibi. But with the injuries to Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes requiring an imminent hernia operation, and long-termers like Wes Brown and Ronnie Johnson, and a former long-term injury casualty, Gary Neville, who's getting closer, we believe. It's a long list. Beckham doesn't seem too troubled, and neither are his side from that cross. Perhaps they might be from that one. They're not. Berg clearing. Never lets United down, heading Berg. I remember a terrific performance he put in the San Siro against Inter Milan and won Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think he's a very solid defender. He sticks to his task all the time. And it's very rarely you see him actually too many people give him the around, because he knows what he needs to do against good forwards and sticks to that task all the way through.
You might have noticed David Beckham putting himself back into the fray. An encouraging sign. Inside the last 20 minutes, and Manchester United are all but in the next stage of the Champions League. Defending to do, Šarić still going, and Mark Bosnich made it difficult. And Šarić flicked it wide of the upright, just seemed to carry on going and going.
Yeah, the surprising thing was Jaap Stam got turned. He was done on the line, and we were just expecting one of the defenders to come across and close him down, and it didn't happen. And in the end, he just tried to knock it over Bosnich. He managed to do that, but knocked it past the post. Again, another warning for United. They don't want to make this difficult for the last 20 minutes.
Sometimes people say that 2-0 can be a very tricky lead. Once it's hard, the momentum goes straight to the opposition, doesn't it?
Indeed it does, because you know, between the devil and the deep blue sea, do you go forward and try and get another goal, or do you sit on your lead, which is always a big risk.
If it's 2-0 in stoppage time, you won't be concerned, but at this stage, probably the best spell of pressure that the home side have had, and the greatest noise that their fans have introduced to it too, and they have a corner to watch. So brave defending, and 2 United players were left on the deck after that. But they're not going to be too concerned at the moment. Giggs offside. He tried to delay it. He tried and tried. Beckham just went. I think Beckham wanted it playing a tad earlier.
I think he did, and he just wandered off. I think David could have just put the brakes on a little bit, because they had 2v1, and then maybe even Ryan could have taken the player on himself, because he was committed, but just that half a yard ahead of the play.
What a chance that was. When you saw the angle there, it just showed you how much play they had to work with. Half a pitch. Oh, slight opening here for the whistle's gone anyway. The offside flag was raised, and I don't actually think that even had the ball been played, that it would have mattered.
Yeah, but a little bit of a let-off for United there, and he just wandered in. I don't know whether he actually gave it to Šimić on this side, who actually ended up putting it over the bar. But I think initially he might have been ahead of the pack.
It's been so rarely that Manchester United have even been stretched. And when there have been, I can't remember one really telling ball in from either flank throughout the 74 minutes so far. Carrying there by Solskjaer. Greening. Haven't seen too much of him since he's come on, but he has moved over to the right, as you suggested.
I think it's been in the period, where Croatia have come back into the game, Zagreb have come back into the match, and he's had to do a fair bit of running around just so that United can defend it as a forward in the middle of the park. So obviously the most difficult time of the match to come on.
I certainly enjoy the experience. I was looking back, and two of the United players have such vast experience of Europe, and Jonathan Greening will benefit from his experiences. He was on the bench in Barcelona, and he's going to taste around about 17-18 minutes here. And he can only benefit from such experiences. Now a chance for Roy Keane to make it 3. Didn't quite get his sights right and was forced out of it by Tokic.
Yeah, it was good play. Initially a bad pass by Croatia Zagreb and cut out by Giggs when passes man slipped it inside to Keane, but he had very little of the goal to look at as the defender came across and knocked it past the post. I think he might have been better looking sideways to see if there was anybody coming in behind.
Interesting, talking about the experience of young players. Would you believe that Ryan Giggs made his European debut against Atletico Madrid in the Cup Winners' Cup in November 1991. He's here now, trying to guide United into the next stage of the Champions League. It was a dangerous ball, which Ryan Giggs actually was probably the closest to heading. And there's some bad news for fans of British football, and indeed those of Arsenal. Gabriel Batistuta has scored for Fiorentina of Italy, and by my reckoning that puts paid, if that is the final score, to the hopes of the club. I was going to say from Highbury, but once again maybe the Wembley jinx has struck.
Yeah, I question whether that's the right decision these days. I think that going to Highbury is always difficult for English teams, but European sides going there, they just can't cope with the crowd being so close, and that's a disappointing aspect for me.
I think Sammy McElroy was, I think George Best as well, were in agreement with you. If you have home advantage, it isn't an advantage anymore if it becomes a ground you're not used to playing on. And I know Barcelona enjoyed the masses of space they had when they came to Wembley. It appears as though Fiorentina have done the same. Now, here's Roy Keane. Phil Neville. Beckham. Neville again. Now Keane. Good football from Manchester United. This was the chance a few moments ago. Dennis Irwin's cross.
Yeah, I think that Jonathan Greening should have really scored there. He took his eye off the ball. He can't believe it. And it would have been a great introduction into the match, wouldn't it? He just had to keep his eye on the ball, but again, he didn't expect that it was going to come through.
Irwin picking out Giggs. Giggs looked to find the defender and found Sadlowski very close by. United about to make another change. Jordi Cruyff is going to take the place of Andy Cole.
A nice situation for Alex Ferguson now to be able to take the players off and rest them with a lot of the difficult games, and the two front players have been ever present this year, and I think that's important, to give them little breathers now and again, because once we'd expect that United would beat Sturm Graz next week, I think it's also important that that they don't take them for granted either.
Here's Greening. Not sure what the cheer in the stadium was all about, but they certainly enjoy themselves even if they are two behind. Fantastic crowd. Here's Keane. Now Beckham. Stamm. Chance for Jordi there. He almost got in. I was looking for the flag, it never came. It was a presentable opportunity. I think the cheer in the stadium was news of a goal in the Sturm Graz game, which Dugarry has put Marseille back at 2-2. Now the cheer can only be for local rivalry, because it certainly doesn't put Zagreb anywhere near the mix. I think Graz is only a matter of a couple of 100 miles, if that, from Zagreb. It sounds as though they're delighting in each other's misfortune. Or maybe they're thinking in terms of UEFA Cup and third place in the group.
Well, sometimes think about that.
Tackling by Jordi Cruyff, but illegal. Tackle there by Irwin, good ball through as well. Jordi's just ran away from him. I think he's going to be penalised for foul anyway. Doesn't seem to have that extra yard of pace, does he?
No, not really. He's technically very good, but he's quite a tall player, but not physically stronger, as you say. Got that bit of blistering pace to say Andy Cole has got. But I think that the Zagreb really have had the best period in the game, and you know they've just come back very strong, particularly with the substitutions.
Sakota. No ball in, there's two men to his left as well, and Simic tried to get away, but the claims for a penalty were waved vehemently away by the referee. It was Jonathan Greening who just made that important challenge. Play by Mucin. Now Prosinecki. Took too long, took far too long. Again, I think that was Greening with an important challenge.
Yeah, a lot of energy, and he needed at this stage, particularly. You know, one or two of the players might be feeling a little bit tired, and he's still got plenty of energy to run around. And you need that. That's a good effort there, because it could have developed into something.
That challenge there will get penalised. David Beckham with the tackle. One more booking will earn a suspension. Seeing the referee, he is going to, in fact, and will brandish the yellow card, and an unnecessary one, really.
Oh, it was reckless. There was no point. I mean, the player was going nowhere. He wasn't in a danger area. He just slid in, and again, I feel that's another unnecessary one. I mean, Paul Scholes one we never got to see again, but I think that they could have done without these two yellow cards tonight, particularly if they, you know, if they have to miss the quarter-final stages.
I think it's a one-match ban, so in effect, means that Scholes and Beckham can't play against Sturm Graz. Encouraging for one or two of the younger players. Here's Tokic. And still. Opportunity, good skills, good feet, and it clips the bar. Referee's blowing. For the corner, I think.
Yes, I think Mark Bosnich got a touch on that. It was on the target. Whether it would have gone in or not, we don't know, but he couldn't take any chances. As you say, just a touch. It looked to me like it was going over, but he wasn't to know that. And a good touch by Bosnich.
Yeah, good save. Mucin showing the skills, and not a bad shot either. Tokic, that perhaps he'd like to have another go at.
I think he's had one or two shots tonight, and none of them have been on target yet.
He's yet to score this season, and I think it's shown in this match. But it's been a thoroughly professional display, this by Manchester United. Let's make no mistake about it. They've needed to come here, silence the crowd, and if they could win it, at the very least come away with a draw, and well, they have played a very professional game of football and find themselves with a 2-0 lead they richly have deserved. And they've thwarted the best efforts of Croatia Zagreb. Solskjaer trying to keep that one on, too much on it. Mumlek. Should be Bosnic's ball, and it is. Giggs. Keane. Giggs again. Given away. Prosinecki. Draws in the stadium. But is that a foul by Stam? He says no. And again, to be fair to him, he was very close by to make the decision. Surely have enjoyed their evening tonight, the Croatia Zagreb fans, and if they are to make their exit from the Champions League, they've graced it. The home support has been fanatical and entertaining. Here's Giggs. Has he got through? He has. Chance for Ryan Giggs, and he couldn't quite hook it just far enough.
I don't think there was too many options there behind him. I think the ball may have been to the far post, but he really didn't get the time. But United are coasting at the moment, and they're soaking up anything that they can throw at them. But really, they don't have the ability to walk the ball through, and most of their efforts have come from long range.
5 minutes to go. Croatia 0, Manchester United 2. An exquisite David Beckham free kick, a deflected Roy Keane shot. United are almost into the next phase of the Champions League, but again David Beckham had an opportunity to release Jonathan Greening, but didn't measure the pass. Here's Sakota, Bosnich out, and he gets it.
I think United had committed a few players forward there, and they were running straight at the defence. Forcing the final ball didn't have the pace just to get to the player's feet, and he did well in the end, Bosnich. But to say a thoroughly professional performance, and they just got to see the game out now, and a nice trip back later on.
Play by Phil Neville. Now Jordi Cruyff. Beckham lined up the shot, and it wasn't too far up. And they're going home.
Yeah, as well they might. There's not much for them to really cheer about tonight, even though they haven't kept quiet all the evening, but I think they know their team is beaten now.
3.5 minutes for them to maybe get a goal that would perhaps liven up the fans who have been so appreciative all evening. Prosinecki. Prosinecki once more, and he's guided it too far. There were rumours that he was about to join Real Oviedo in Spain. He was quick to hold a press conference a short time ago to deny reports that he was going to leave Croatia Zagreb. Incidentally, there's an interesting scoreline from Austria. Sturm Graz are now 3-2 up against Marseille. So they really do have a fighting chance of progressing, and they'll be playing against Manchester United next week, with United seemingly, unless something extraordinary happens, having qualified. So that could be an entertaining game at Old Trafford. Anyway, still 2.5 minutes or so to go here. Šarić, Prosinecki, Tokic, Prosinecki, who in truth has been fairly disciplined, but has rarely, well, not really put in an incisive pass. He's held that middle midfield role. Hasn't had too many options running off him, to be fair. Beckham. Greening. Irwin. Greening continued the run, and he'll certainly fancy his chances. Was he caught? Vukovic? Referee says not. Tokic. Offside? Yes, there is. Stan was certain that he'd held his line. The assistant agreed.
It was only 2 yards. I don't think there was any surprise. I think the player thought that he was onside, but he was nowhere near. He was well behind the defence.
Mucin. His head down now. Final minute. I think it's fair to say that Manchester United have shown tonight just why they did win the Champions League, and just how much they have learned over the years about going away from home. and playing a sensible, disciplined and robust shape to come away with the victory. Šarić. Oh, and the goal! Prosinecki! Well, the last minute and Prosinecki scores, and there's 3 minutes of added time, which should get those fans who've left the ground back in again.
Well, that was a surprise because we were looking to see the game out, but just out of blue, nobody had picked up Prosinecki, and it was a side foot into the corner. It was just free, 12 yards out, little side foot in, and Mark Bosnich never saw it because there was players in front of him. And yeah, that does make for an interesting last 3 minutes.
Zagreb will now smell a draw at the very least. They have 3 minutes of added time. 30 seconds of them have gone, but well, there's life, there's hope. A few question marks about why nobody marked arguably Zagreb's most potent force. Solskjaer, good feet. And you can see he's looking to kill the clock rather than look for anything incisive. Understandable, I guess. Solskjaer again. Now they're urged on for a counter-attack, and never even got off the ground. Solskjaer put a foot in. Here's Neville. Greening. Neville again. Time for Beckham. And a catch from the keeper. A tackle by Giggs. Cruyff. It's gone too far, but it'll still be Manchester United possession. Giggs. Good header. Not quite guided away from trouble though. Osvaldo Ardiles knows that his side have never really been incisive at any stage of the game, except perhaps a minute and a half ago. It's hardly a case of missed opportunities when they look back at this game. Manchester United have been far too disciplined for that. But here is the goal scorer, who breathed a little life back into the home faithful, Prosinecki. Szydlowski. Good header away by Berg. Now Beckham. The whistle's coming from the United faithful, who've made the trip to Zagreb rather than from the referee. Good dummy by Ryan Giggs. Stam. Now Irwin. Another long look at the watch from Dick Jarl, the Dutch referee. And Frank, Manchester United have achieved their first aim and done it very professionally.
They have indeed. A little bit of a worry there towards the end, but I think they deserved it on the night, and I think we've really seen the best that Croatia could throw at them, really, but they were never good enough to really beat United, and I say it was a late consolation more than anything else.
And that's it. Enough's enough. The referee says that Manchester United will progress to the next phase of the Champions League. Croatia Zagreb negotiated. Mark Bosnich didn't keep the clean sheet that he wanted, but 2-1 will do. And Manchester United's 2-1 win sees them through, and Croatia Zagreb out.